Bright Risings family, Lenaja Bright here. Alright, y'all, let's get into this real quick. Let's go to 1 Samuel. 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 32. And David said to Saul, let no man's heart fail because of him. Thy servant will go and fight with this Philistine. And Saul said to David, thou art not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for thou art but a youth and a man of war, and he a man of war from his youth. I'm about to run that back. Hold up. Let me turn the music down a little bit. Let's run that back. So verse 32, 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 32. And David said to Saul, let no man's heart fail because of him. Thy servant will go and fight this Philistine. And Saul said to David, thou art not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for thou art but a youth, and he a man of war from his youth. Family, let's get into that good word, all right? Let's get into that word. When I was just reading this, it made me so excited, okay? It made me so excited because I read that and I was like, oh, Saul a hater. Like in my flesh, that's really what I said. I'm like, oh, Saul a hater. Like, imagine being so confident in yourself, no matter what age, so confident in yourself, knowing exactly who God calls you to be, knowing exactly what your assignment is, knowing exactly what you're capable of, who you are, okay? Knowing who you are. And then seeing the battle at hand and being like, oh, I got this. Y'all don't trip. Y'all don't trip. I got this. And somebody telling you, but you're just a kid. But you're just. I'm just a child of God. What else do I need to be? I'm just called by God. What else do I need to be? I'm just here for a time as this. Like God put me here to be. Hello. 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 I am so happy and so elated that David didn't listen to Saul. That David didn't hear that and let that go in his heart. Sometimes we hear stuff and it goes through one ear and not the other. I'm glad that happened. I'm glad that happened. I'm glad that David did not consider the words of Saul. Because how many times do we have naysayers and they're saying something that sounds true and we adopt it as truth? It makes sense. Oh yeah, it does make sense. I ain't nothing but a kid. And he's been a man of war since he was a kid. He's been a warrior, a fighter, and he's a giant since he was a kid. Like, wow. It makes sense, but it wasn't truth. It made sense, but it wasn't truth. If he decided to go based on logic, oh yeah, you're right, he would have bowed down. And then we wouldn't even hear about David and Goliath. We wouldn't even hear about how David was risen up as king. Like, we wouldn't even have heard of that because it wouldn't happen. Because he allowed something that sounded like truth, something that did make sense in the natural. You know what I'm saying? He didn't allow that thing that seemed like it was justified to be against him and win. He didn't justify defeat in his head. Sometimes we go into stuff and be like, oh, well, I'm about to lose. I ain't even about to give him my all. Oh, well, no, this ain't even going to work out. I don't even know why I'm here. No, he did not try to justify and rationalize the lie. Glory be to God. And now because of that, because he stood in his godly truth, we hear about the victory. And it is so amazing. And it was so beyond his own strength that to this day, we are talking about it. To this day, God is still being glorified by how he used this young shepherd boy to come up against a giant Philistine who an entire army trained soldiers was intimidated by, afraid of, and they called themselves being a part of the army of the Lord. But this person with childlike faith, this person who was a child, this person who was not in the natural as big and strong and all of this stuff as these trained soldiers, was able to walk in obedience, was able to know, oh no, God called me to this. First of all, this uncircumcised Philistine, aka he's not even in covenant relation with God. What are we really doing here? He's not even in covenant relation with God. So of course he's not going to get the victory. I have the one true living God fighting for me. Of course I'm going to get the victory. Of course I can ask, seek, and knock, and that door will be open unto me. Of course. God called me to it. Of course I'm going to get the victory. All right, y'all. That just made me so excited. Just because it sounds like it's truth, just because it makes sense in the natural, don't mean adopt it as your truth. Stick with God's truth. Them lies from the enemy be sounding justified in the mug. Them lies of the enemy don't even sound like lies. It sounds like rationality. Oh, but you're just a youth, and he's been a man of war since his youth. It just sounds like logic. Like, oh yeah. Oh. Connect the dots. Oh, if this is, then that is. Oh yeah, it makes sense. Don't adopt them lies that make sense as truth. Stick with God's truth. I love you. God love you. He brought you to it. Nah. Get through it. Nah. God love you.